La 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 la. Via Alegre. Time for news, guys. The Oscars inch ever closer, whether we want them to or not.
Encroaching.
They're coming. They are encroaching, but there are still several steps to go before we get to the Oscars, and they happen this weekend. We have the Directors Guild Awards, Critics Choice Awards, and the BAFTAs, which are the British version of the Oscars. 4 out of the 5 Oscar-nominated directors are also up for the DGAs.
Not uncommon.
Right. They don't usually go 5 for 5. There's usually one that like gets subbed out in the Oscars. So up for the DGA is Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Jane Campion, The Power of the Dog, Spielberg for West Side Story, and Denis Villeneuve for Dune. Now, at the Oscars, there's no Denis Villeneuve, and you have Ryusuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car.
Right. Well, if Villeneuve won, I wouldn't be surprised, A, because a lot of people were sort of miffed about his exclusion at the Academy. And also, they've gone down that road before. Like, didn't Spielberg win for The Color Purple the year that I think he didn't get? There's some weird connection thing that I'm forgetting what it is.
They're not a perfect predictor. No, they're not at all like a perfect predictor of what's going to happen at the Oscars. So they're just, it's a fun night. I've covered the DGAs before, back in the before times when I had a real full-time job. And it's fun because all 5 directors, win or lose, get up at some point and make a little speech.
Nice.
Which is, of course, never a short speech because they're directors and they all enjoy being in charge of the room and hearing themselves talk.
Of course.
Also, at the BAFTAs, so they do Best Film and they also do Best British Film. So their Best Film nominees are Don't Look Up, Dune, Belfast, Licorice Pizza, and Power of the Dog, all of which are also up for Oscars. But then they get some interesting stuff into the Best British Film category, like House of Gucci and Last Night in Soho and Passing and No Time to Die.
Oh, I guess Rebecca Hall's British. Yes, right. Okay. Sorry, it took me a second to be like,
so all that's happening. And then the Critics' Choice Awards, which are sort of taking the place of what the Golden Globes might have been in terms of big and splashy and star-studded. So,
well, that's what they are hoping anyway. They better have a good booze sponsor, because that's, if you want to recreate the magic of the Golden Globes. It's the open bar.
Right. Not being sober is key. So that's all happening. So we'll follow up on that next week when we see you on Tuesday for news. Also, with the Oscars coming, we're going to have a whole bunch of Oscar content the whole week leading up to the Academy Awards. So every single day, we're going to have a video with different predictions, all the acting categories, directing. We're going to do something random with like costumes and hair.
Sure. Yes. Yay, below the line. Y'all keep this whole crap game afloat.
Indeed. And I have now watched all 5 documentary nominees. Ooh. So I will have thoughts on that. So we have that. Other actual news, Jussie Smollett was sentenced just yesterday in that weird case where he said he had been attacked, but it turned out that he actually like staged the whole thing. It was he said he was a victim of this racist and homophobic attack, and actually he orchestrated it. He was sentenced to 5 months in jail, 30 months probation. He was fined $20,000, and then he also has to pay $120,000 in restitution. And he didn't seem terribly, I don't know, convinced that he had done anything wrong.
Yeah, like there's dumb celebrity shit where you just kind of roll your eyes and go, celebrities. And then there's stuff where it's like, are you okay? Like, are you okay? Is someone taking care of you? Do you have the treatment that you need? Because this whole story to me tips over into cry for help territory.
Right. He was shouting like, I'm not suicidal. Yeah. I'm not going to kill myself. Like anyway, I don't think he thinks he's done anything wrong, and he was very defiant. And the judge went off on him and was like telling him how arrogant and narcissistic he is.
Yeah, I mean, what did he say? Like, if I could have said I was guilty months ago, but I'm not guilty, or I don't know. This is all. It's all very sad. He's very talented, and I'm sorry this all went down.
It's very complicated and confusing. So there is that. Another horrible, weird story involving Ryan Coogler. This recently in Atlanta. He's in Atlanta shooting the Black Panther sequel.
Right.
He goes to the bank to pull out some money. Apparently it was a very large amount of money, like at least $10,000 in cash. And so he writes a note to the teller saying that he would like her to please discreetly count it because of the large sum of money.
Sure.
She mistakes this for a robbery attempt and calls her manager and they call the police. Police show up in no time, and one of the cops freaking went for his gun like really fast, like split second, and then they cuff him, and then they all figured out, oh, it's Ryan Coogler, and he's a filmmaker and he's here working. And
yeah, I've already seen the expression banking while black, because people have talked for years about driving while black means you can get pulled over for anything and nothing, and like you might not survive the encounter. And so yeah, the idea that you can't go into a bank and do it. Look, I took out like $1,000 one time, and I was terrified to walk to the car just because I never carry that kind of cash around. So of course you would have it on a note, and it's like, it's not like I have a gun. It's like, no, please count my withdrawal from my account. It is your job, bank person. Yeah, it's just all fucked up. And I grew up in Atlanta, and it's always tried to sort of pride itself as the city too busy to hate, but there is like racial bullshit happening there as much as in anywhere else in this country. The South, the North, the East, the West. It's a thing that is happening that we have to figure out how to get, or how to knock it off.
And also has these chilling echoes from Coogler's first film, which was Fruitvale Station.
Yes. Good point.
That was very
connection, but you're totally right.
That's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, oh shit. Like this, I can't even imagine how heart-poundingly harrowing that is when we see way too many examples of how that can all go wrong so fast. So the Bank of America apologized.
I bet they did.
Yeah, he put out a statement saying, okay, this was a misunderstanding. So that is done, but unfortunate. Kodi Smit-McPhee has responded to Sam Elliott calling The Power of the Dog a piece of shit. And basically it was so much shade. He was just like, I'm a human being who is passionate about what I do, and I don't have time for this.
Yeah, it's the I don't know her of responses. Bravo.
So good for him. We got a bunch of teasers and trailers that came out. One of them is for the Disney Plus Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which debuts on Disney Plus on May 25th. We will for sure talk about that. All I know is when I saw Tatooine again, I'm like, are we still on Tatooine?
I hate sand.
I'm so tired. It gets into everything. So we have that. We also have a trailer for Bridgerton season 2.
This is the season the Viscount intends to find a wife.
You honestly just did that?
I believe I did.
Which begins really soon. I don't think I realized March 25th is coming, and they're gonna Netflix. We talk about this all the time with like streaming strategy. They're putting all of Bridgerton on Netflix on March 25th. We're not going to watch it that fast.
No. We are watching it for Patreon, but we're doing like 2 episodes at a time. And look, I'm sure there's, logistics and binging, blah, blah, blah. But, you look at the shows that are still following the serialized model, and they're the ones that are getting talked about. And I think, like, who have you heard talk about the last season of Ozark? People love that show, but it all dropped. There was like an immediate response for the people who devoured it, and then you didn't hear about it again.
Yeah. So we're going to do them 2 at a time with our Patreon. We'll put a link to that down below there. Also, HBO Max has ordered a limited series spinoff of Penguin from the Batman, starring and produced by Colin Farrell. Matt Reeves also will produce. So if you couldn't get enough of Colin Farrell and his prosthetics, you get more. That is coming. And then finally, some sad news. Emilio Delgado, Luis from Sesame Street, died this week. He was 81, and you saw so much outpouring of people saying that he's like the first Latino that they saw on television. Luis and Maria on Sesame Street. He was on the show from the earliest days in the early 70s.
The first people I ever saw speak Spanish on television, as we did in my household growing up, were Luis and Maria on Sesame Street and Rita Moreno on The Electric Company.
And what was it like for you?
It was validating, because it wasn't like this weird thing that my parents did, my parents and their friends, like, oh, this is in the world, like it's on TV and everything. This was before Via Alegre happened. And you really have to be old to remember that one.
La 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 Via Alegre.